Bonjour classe, mon exposé porte sur le Canada et Pouding Chomeur. First, some brief history. Around 50,000 to 17,000 years ago, there was a land bridge called the Bering Strait that connected Russia and Alaska. This is when the first human inhabitants crossed from Siberia and migrated to parts of Canada. The next event happened sometime before 1450, but archaeologists argue over when it really did happen. 5 Iroquois nations formed the powerful Confederacy of Longhouse. The picture is of their flag. In 1534, Jacques Cartier explored the southern part of Canada and he claims the land for France. In the photo, the red arrows show where Cartier explored. In 1604, St. Croix Island, located in Acadia, was the site of a French colony that didn't last very long due to illness and possibly scurvy. In 1605, the settlement was moved to Port Royal. Moving forward into the 20th century, between 1929 and 1939, the Great Depression happened in America, where the value of the New York stock market crashed. The effects on Canada was an unprecedented level of poverty due to unemployment. During that time period, the dessert Pouding Chomeur was created. According to the legend surrounding Pouding Chomeur, the dessert was created by female factory workers at the beginning of the Great Depression. During the Great Depression, stale bread was sometimes used instead of cake batter. Now it's a traditional dessert of Quebec. The French influence on the dessert is a fairly simple one. French desserts are traditionally very sweet, and Pouding Chomeur is a very sweet dessert due to the layer of syrup that's added to the plain cake batter. Vocab. Jacques Cartier. He was a French explorer that was the first French man to discover Canada. Quebec. It's a predominantly French-speaking province of Canada, and it's the province where Pouding Chomeur was created. Pouding Chomeur translates from French to poor man's pudding or unemployed man's pudding. Cassonade, brown sugar, which is one of the ingredients used to make the syrup in Pouding Chomeur. Bon appetit means enjoy your meal and is said when serving a meal. The next section is a video of me baking the dessert and explaining the process of how it's. Okay, so the first thing that you do when baking anything is wash your hands, and then I like to get everything prepared so everything is set up, so I'm skipping showing what we're going to be baking with until I'm using it. Okay, so the first step is to make the syrup of Pouding Chomeur, and that requires 3 tablespoons of butter. You melt that, which I have started to do, and then as it's melting you add in 1.5 cups of brown sugar. After all of the brown sugar is mixed in, it will look something like this, and then you add 1.5 cups of water to it to make it actually syrupy. So stir this in. The sugar is going to just kind of quickly mix in, and then you actually leave this boiling while you bake the batter. At this point you should set your oven to 350 degrees. Okay, so you have another 3 tablespoons of butter. You add 3/4 cup of sugar to it, and then you just kind of mix it. We call it creaming. After you have creamed the sugar and butter together, you add 1.5 cups of flour, baking soda, that is 2 teaspoons of baking soda, and then you mix that. While that is mixing, I would recommend taking your syrup off of the stove, because as you're mixing the batter, it should have been boiling. After that has been mixed together, you add in the creamed butter sugar alternating with 3/4 cup of milk. So I add around half of the milk first, have this mixing. Then add in half of the butter. Then add in the rest of the milk.
and then rest of this. And then let that mix for around a minute. Next step is you pour your syrup into a 9x13 baking pan. So let's pour that in there. And it depends on how sweet you want the pudding chomeur to be, and I really want it sweet, so I'm adding all of the syrup. So put half the syrup in if you don't want it as sweet. Next step before baking is you add in all of the batter. Use it by doing a spoon since it's going into a liquid. This might take a while. Last step is to bake it in the oven for 30 minutes. So it baked for half an hour, and this is the end result. Bon appetit, class!